Hey there, just want to share with you just a brief challenge from my own personal time in the Word this morning. It comes from Matthew 8. Jesus had been ministering to the crowds, preaching and healing people, and it kind of started to get nighttime, and he was presumably feeling pretty exhausted, and he tells his disciples that it's time to go across to the other side of the sea. Verse 23 says, "When Jesus got into the boat, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great storm on the sea, so that the boat was being covered with the waves, but Jesus himself was asleep." I want to stop there and just point out that the disciples find themselves in this great storm. They don't quite know what to do about it. They're afraid, but the dilemma is they're doing exactly what God told them to do. Jesus had said, "Go get in the boat and go across," right where that storm was going to be. And we're in some tough times right now, I know, dealing with sickness and with the panicked response to that sickness. But I just thought about how relevant this was, that when we're dealing with difficult times, or we might say a storm, it doesn't mean that Jesus has abandoned us. It doesn't mean that he doesn't care. In fact, as the disciples remembered, he was right there in the boat with them through the storm. And I would say it's not a stretch to believe that he's right here in this boat with us as well. Sometimes, despite knowing he's with us, though, we're still afraid. And the disciples experience that. Verse 25 says, "They come to him, they wake him, saying, 'Save us, Lord, we're perishing.' And he says to them, 'Why are you afraid, you men of little faith?'" And then you know the story probably. He rebukes the winds and the sea, and they become perfectly calm, and the disciples are amazed. And Jesus reminded them that they didn't have to be afraid. They had him, and so there was no need to fear. But the fact of the matter is, they were afraid. And sometimes, even though we know we don't have to be afraid, we do find ourselves fearful. And these men did the exact right thing. When they found themselves fearful, even if they knew better, they came to Jesus and they said, "You need to save us." And that really should be our response. I don't know how you're feeling these days. Maybe you are afraid, and you probably know somewhere in the back of your mind, "I don't have to be afraid," but you are anyway. And I would just encourage you that you don't have to be afraid. But if you are, do exactly what the disciples did in this passage and just turn to Jesus, because he's the only one that can save us from our fear. He's the only one that is the ultimate solution to any problems that we're facing in our lives. So whatever you're feeling today, if it's fear, doubt, or frustration, know that the proper thing to do is just to run to Jesus with that feeling. I encourage you to do that today.